Do you support Anastasia Palaszczuk's super profits tax?
Well, I think I like the way that Tony characterised these issues, and I think what we've seen over the course of the last, over the course of this year in particular, is two dynamics. One is the war in Ukraine. Russia's illegal war in Ukraine has caused significant price spikes right around the world. This is a shared global problem. There are a series of countries around the world that are acting on these questions. Secondly, of course, it occurs against a backdrop where there hasn't been much progress in energy policy over the last decade. Now, the arrangements that states make in terms of royalties, in terms of their own taxation arrangements, are a matter for the states. What I am focused on, and what the government is focused on, is reaching a solution to these.
But it's a matter for the states. But in this scenario, it affects the whole East Coast and really the whole of Australia, because if the federal government needs to compensate Queensland for royalties, well, it's not just a matter for the states, is it?
Well, I'm not going to anticipate today on Sky, much as I'd like to, what the final result of all of these processes will be. Each of the states has their own distinct royalty and tax arrangements. There has been considerable work done by Treasury, considerable work in cooperation with the states to work through what impact the policy solution will have in each of these jurisdictions. And I'm very confident that as the energy ministers meet and as the Prime Minister convenes the National Cabinet virtually tomorrow, that we'll get to a landing on these. That as Tony Wood said earlier, these are complex issues. This is not a policy reform that the government is undertaking for any other reason than that there are significant price hikes as a result of the Russia invasion of Ukraine. That is the only reason that we are in this position.
Sure.
We are going to work it through in the interests of all Australians. And then, as Tony Wood said, and I thought that was a pretty good interview, the big issues in terms of making sure that we have structural downward pressure on prices, that the transmission grid and storage and the injection of low-cost renewables into that drive a long-term structural downward pressure on prices is absolutely critical over the coming years.
Yeah, it is critical, but for the intervening years, gas and coal are the things that are going to keep our prices down, because there is a massive underinvestment in transmission lines, and the list goes on. Do you accept that as the reality?
Yeah, there's a consequence of a decade of inaction. These things have consequences. When the last government had 22 goes at landing an energy policy, it wasn't just a story inside the Beltway in Canberra. It's got real life effects. It means that the investment community hasn't had the confidence to get behind the kind of technologies, the kind of reforms that were necessary. Now,
yeah, but
we've got an ambitious plan.
Australians will be looking.
We are going to work.
Australians will be looking at this, particularly looking at America as a comparison. They're looking towards being energy independent. That is their number one priority. Yes, going green is a priority as well. But in such a resources-rich nation like Australia, to have not have reliance on at least a gas going forward for that, bringing down prices in the medium term and delivering that reliability would be insane, wouldn't it?
Well, energy independence is important to the United States. I mean, we have very significant energy reserves in Australia. We have, as you pointed to, very significant reserves of coal and gas, but also we are the sunniest nation on earth with vast solar reserves and vast wind reserves as well. As the Prime Minister has said, we are in a position, if we get the energy reforms right, to be a renewable energy superpower. That does mean, as you point to, there are challenges as we work these issues through in the short term, but it means lower prices for households and business in Australia, making energy a competitive advantage, but also that we should be in a position to be exporting energy right around the world. That's the future for Australia. If we get a government that's we've got a government that is actually going to put its shoulder behind the wheel and deliver some certainty in this area.